I'm going to start off by sharing some verbal transmissions, and these are with everything that's going on in the world, in everybody's spiritual, personal lives. You know, a lot of people are struggling to kind of know what to do, how to handle the daily happenings and watching what's happening around the world. So I thought I would jump in and just share some of the things that I know will help people really come back into their power and feel like they have more of a sense of what to do. Okay, so there are going to be some practical things as well. Before I do that, before I share some of the tips for how to cope with life in a more beautiful way, I want to start off by addressing perhaps there's a little bit of an elephant in the room as well. So a lot of people are finding it as the year progresses that things seem to be a bit more chaotic, a bit more, dark, should I say. And I want to let you know that it's not because things are getting worse, because things are actually improving. So hear me out. So things are not getting darker, but it's because there has been a mass awakening for humanity. So our consciousness has elevated to an extent where the things that used to be able to hide from our awareness and at the same time influencing us, and because our consciousness was at a lower level at that time, they were able to get away with concealing a lot of the stuff, a lot of the bullshit, the nonsense, the lies and deceptions. And now, because the veil has been stripped, if you will, we're able to see and perceive more of what's really going on, right? So I want to inspire you to look at it as, because we can see what's really going on now, it's not something new. It's always been happening that way. We just haven't been able to, our consciousness had not evolved to a level where we could see it, right? So it's all good. So at the same time, I understand it's, nevertheless, it's still a struggle. It's a challenge to know what to do, right? It kind of seems like everything is just more difficult these days, okay? So now I also want to say that, yes, big change is happening, and we are actually already in the new paradigm, right? If you've been in the spiritual communities, you would have heard about, the coming of a new paradigm, right? Or the transition from 3D into 5D. According to me, we are already in 5D. And so the new paradigm is already here. So I want to be more specific about what this new paradigm is. I call it, from my perspective, I call it the new era of freedom, flow, and abundance, okay? So we are already here. It's just that some parts of us, the denser part of us, are taking a bit of time to catch up to that space, okay? But we are already here, and the more that you acknowledge that, the more that you're going to start to notice the beauty, the joys, the abundance that do exist in this space, in this dimension of reality. Okay. You can ask me any questions. I would love to know if where you're at in your spiritual journey, or what are you struggling with. If you have any requests for personal healings, I'm going to be doing some personalized healing as well. Okay, so big change is here. We are already in a new paradigm. So that's the good news, right? Now, the thing with our consciousness is, right, our consciousness is so powerful that it really depends. It's up to us to use our consciousness, right? The problem is that by the time you're here today, we have been programmed, we have been influenced by a lot of conditions, social conditionings and programmings that dilutes how powerful we are, okay? There's an agenda that wants to stifle and suppress how powerful we really are. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into that, but just know that you are an infinitely divine being of light, meaning that your powers are enormous. It's infinite, right? But very often we exist in this dimension where we give away our power to higher authority, to experts, to even people you're in a relationship with. All right. So I'm actually going to move into the first point that I want to make today, right? I really want to convey to this, and we have to start with this one, right? Which is the power lies inside of us, not out there. Okay, and I really want to invite you to receive this on a deeper level, go beyond the superficial, and really kind of feel it viscerally, in the sense of your drop down that absorb it with your heart, with your spirit, with your soul, to feel it in your body, right? So not just staying on the level of conceptual. It's not just an idea, but it's something that you are really allowing into your full knowingness in your body, mind, heart, and spirit. The power lies inside of you, and today it is imperative that we do more to reel in this power that we've given away. We've had a lifetime of giving away our power to the people around us, even to your loved ones, to your job, to your career, to the situation, the economic situation, to leaders, to experts. And even if you just do it now, I want my live sessions to be very interactive and very experiential. So please do this with me. Also, let me just explain the work that we do. I'm just going to call it the work, okay? It encompasses any shifts that you make in this space while you're with me, any healing that you do, any transformation that you decide to step into internally. When you do it with me in this space, I've already set up this sacred force field so that everything that we do here is going to be more powerful than if you were to do it in a mundane space, let's say, for example, okay? I have coded the energies to support you in achieving the highest level of shifts and transformations, healing and realignment of parts of you, okay? So my mission is to enable whoever is here want to participate with me in shifting to a higher trajectory for us to be able to achieve it here and right now, all right? Hello, so many new beautiful light holders, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for being here. I feel your presence. And as you come in, I am sending the stream of beautiful energies to you to begin any healing that your system may be needing right now. I want you to know that I see you, whatever you've got going on in your life, and you feel like you're struggling, you're dealing with it all by yourself. Maybe you're not getting the support that you want, or maybe you feel like you've dealt a blow by the universe or God or whatever, right? Sometimes we do feel that way. I want you to see that I want you to know that I see you, and you are seen by the eyes of divinity. So if you can, I will invite you to slow down your breathing, because that will enable your system to receive more powerfully the energies that are already streaming into each and every one of you who are here live with me. Okay, and I'm going to go back. As this is going on in the background, the energetics are continuing to work in the background. I'm going to circle back to continue what I was saying before about the power lies inside of us. So that means reeling in, and you would know you would know, if you're honest with yourself, you would know how much power you've given away to other people, to people, places, and situations. All right. So let's invite all of those beautiful parts of you back, just doing it energetically. All right. And you may, after this, feel like you want to have a conversation or, do something externally, like a practical step. But the power lies in your decision right now when you're in this space with me. The more present you are, the more internal steps that you take with me, the more magical shifts you're going to encounter in your practical, tangible world. So, how do you know that the power is inside of you, right? You know that because the way that you have been giving away power to external sources is not working, right? It gives you a sense of powerlessness. Okay, so whether you are struggling with finances or with career or relationships or health, it leaves you the state of powerlessness. Okay, so I see everything as either the power is inside of you or it's outside of you. Okay, and as long as you hold your power internally, everything outside of you is going to work. It's because it's mirroring what you do eternally with your power, right? We all have equal amounts of power. It's up to us whether we utilize it or not, right? So I'm also going to do some shift of consciousness while we're in this space to assist and support you in actually doing the work. So let me go into channeling the energy that is needing to come in. Okay, so there is peach colored energy. You know, that sort of slightly yellow pinkish shade. So it's a very soft energy that is moving down through in your space. It's available for you, okay? And in case you are wondering, you're not forced into receiving energies. You have the sovereignty to decide whether you want to receive it or not. And nothing is wasted. Nothing will be a mistake. All right. According to the highest divine source intelligence. Okay. And this energy is coming in first and foremost to bring relief to any form of suffering. So that could be physical pain, could be mental torment, emotional pain, feeling confused about what your life is about, the lack of meaning and significance to your life in general, any form of suffering. We are bringing more a relief from that for you. So we are holding the space for you to receive that. Okay. All right. So that will continue to work in your system as we continue over time. Hello. Welcome to the Sacred Vortex. So more healings are going to be facilitated and delivered in this space. So power is inside of you, so that's the most important thing to practice, not just to know, but to practice, to start anchoring back your power, to hold it inside of you so that everything outside can transform into better versions of themselves, okay? Because if we don't do this, if we go ahead, and I've got about 4 other points that I want to make, 4 other important shifts that you can make today, right? Without doing this first one, which is taking your power, owning the fact that your power lies inside of you, first and foremost, everything else will be compromised, okay? And you can do that by simply sensing some kind of energy inside of you as we do this work. all right? And you will know when your power is outside versus being inside of you, all right? So the next one that is going to help humanity, and by humanity it is all of us, right? So individually and collectively, is we have to keep our consciousness so undiluted, pure and pristine, all right? And that means cleaning up your lifestyle, right? Addiction is one of the most devious and darkest tools by the dark forces, right? And I see this more and more. The whole thing about alcohol consumption of alcohol and substances is very much a part of a spell, because it's the easiest way to block us from our true powers, right? When you've had the substances in your body, right? You are just not thinking clearly. It gives you a false sense of everything is good when it's not, right? And looking back, you will realize that you were actually put in a dark place. Now, I will also say, as an energy healer and soul worker, I can't tell you how many times I've had to clean up entities in people just from alcohol and substance consumption, right? And some may say, okay, I don't have a drinking problem. I just enjoy going out and having drinks, right? And I used to differentiate that as well. Not everybody is an alcoholic, not everybody is an addict, right? But my perspective, the more I know about what's really going on in the spiritual world, there is a spiritual warfare, yeah? But that's another topic for another day, right? So the more I see, my perspective has changed. Now I can see that even just a little bit, what we call the recreational drinking and recreational drug taking, that is an addiction, all right? So there's no healthy consumption of these things. Any consumption of these things is yielding to dark forces, because it perforates, it makes holes in your aura, in your auric field, for dark entities, for demons, demonic forces, can very easily come in and occupy your space, right? And one of the ways that you can tell when you've been under I'm not trying to scare you, these things are actually not difficult to get rid of, all right? There's nobody that's more powerful than you. You know why? Because you have this expansive light inside of you. You are of the divine, right? So nothing is more powerful than you. So even when I talk about these things like entities and the counterforce and the spells and programmings, I want you to realize that it's not difficult to disable them, right? And this is why I proceeded by talking about how powerful your consciousness is, because you carry the lights of divinity, right? As soon as you are aware, and this is why very often as I say these things, as I flag up to you, this is what's going on, right? Immediately the shift can happen in the same moment, right? Now, the more pristine your consciousness is, the quicker, the more powerful, and more cleanly you disable these influences, right? So, which brings us back to, how important it is to be pristine in your consciousness. So clean up your lifestyle, look at what you're doing. I'm also talking about your space, your environment that you're in. People don't realize how bad tolerating cobwebs is. Those corners with these cobwebs, they attract and hold negative energies. And it doesn't take that much to just, sweep it away, right? So in general, personal hygiene, spatial hygiene, that's really important to maintain, because why wouldn't you, right? We are, gods and goddesses at the end of the day, right? Or at least that's what we can be if we choose to, right? So why wouldn't we want our space to be to reflect how worthy we are, right? So as I say this, I can feel an energy, a light blue, clear light blue energy that's coming in to kind of filter out any low vibrations that maybe has been sort of sticky in your the surface. Is on the surface level. What's the word I'm using for infection? It's not a deep infection. It's a superficial sort of annoyance, but it's a low vibration energy anyway. So this blue, clear, translucent, yet clear in the sense that it has a water-like quality that filters out all of these energies that are keeping you stuck in. I was going to say, okay, the how you would know you've been under the influence of these energies is that your thoughts are spiraling out and you keep thinking the same thoughts. It's almost like stuck in this thinking loop and you feel like you can't get out of it. Okay, so that's one very easy thing to spot when you feel like, oh my God, why am I not in control of my thoughts? And that's because very often there is a foreign energy attached to you, right? And again, these things are not difficult to disable, right? I do need to tell you, because that is what's happening, right, on this level of our reality. But it's also nobody is more powerful than you. I really want to reinforce that the lights inside of you, that it's infinite. The potential, what you can do with it is infinite. Okay, so I'm going to keep this blue energy in our space so that whoever needs it will continue to benefit from it. And it will also elevates the frequency of this sacred vortex. Okay. If you have any questions about spirituality or you want to share where you're at in your spiritual journey, let me know, including any personal requests for healing. And I'm going to talk about something. Okay, what happens when you clean up your act, right? When you clean up your acts, okay, you can see more clearly. You can actually become more of who you really are, right? Instead of being governed by, having all these negative filters in front of you, and which is the majority of people in this world, to be honest, right? All of us have been the influence of these filters. And as a result, let me tell you this, right? Most people are suffering from an existential crisis, right? Why are we here? What's the whole purpose of being here? Like, what is the meaning? Like, why am I put here? Why is life such a struggle? It's so hard, hardship, struggles, pain and suffering, difficulty, right? That is what we have been programmed to accept as normal when it's not. It's actually not normal. What our Creator wants us to experience is a life of love, beauty, and magic, of an abundance of joy and goodness, all right? I mean, how crazy is that? It's now become a rarity. Joy has become a rarity. Most people go through their whole life without experiencing true joy, and that's not how it's supposed to be, but we have normalized it. We've been programmed to normalize it. And I want to awaken you to the higher truth, which is that's not what's available. That's not all that's available to you, right? So when your consciousness is undiluted by any substance, any, those things that we do to numb out, to escape, to dilute our awareness. Those things make you stay under the hypnosis of the spell, right? So we become these walking zombies. We're under the spell and we do these things automatically thinking that this is what's normal, right? And having crossed over from the dark side, very dark side for a long time, into sort of the light now, right? And that doesn't mean I have no problems, right? I'm just like a normal human being and maybe just a few steps ahead of most people. I can tell you that life is juicy. And if that's not been your experience yet, it's not because it's not there, and it's not because you can't access it, it's because you have not gone beyond what society tells you is normal. Right? And you can see why, it's not difficult to understand why, there would be such an agenda, right? To keep us ignorant of the higher truth, so that we'll continue to create demands for merchandise, right? To continue to generate businesses, right? That's how economy works, right? When there's supply and demand chains, right? That's driven from a place of need and lack and scarcity and powerlessness, right? And marketing use that all the time, right? Playing up our fears and what we feel we're lacking, and therefore reinforcing this sense of we're not enough. There's never going to be enough, and life is scarce, and that is lies and deception. Let me tell you, what's available to you is an abundance of joy, of love, beauty, and magic. And this is what's available to each and every one of us. All right. So that's another incentive to clean up our lifestyle. And I know it can feel like, okay, what's the point of it? Because life is just so bleak and dark, right? Understandably, I've been there before. But that's why I can tell you, because I've been there and I've gone to the other side, right? We have not gone beyond it, right? So perhaps my words can inspire and motivate you, to pull you over, to say to you, there is something enormously beautiful and peaceful, right? This is not it. That was my whole question, my younger life, right? Like for a long time, that was what was preoccupying me. Is this all there is, right? The whole, the Matrix, the movie, right? It plagues most people, right? Are plagued by that question. Is this all there is to life? What's the whole point, right? And I am here to tell you there is more than just an okay level of false happiness. Like when people talk about things being good, right? They're actually referring to things being okay, right? For me, that was not enough. I refused to accept. When I was struggling to find a way out, I was like, no, okayness is not enough, right? And most of conventional, mainstream therapy only work towards getting you to an okay state. I mean, look at addiction treatment, mental health treatments, right? I mean, they tell you that you can't be free from any of the afflictions, but I can tell you that my personal experience, and with working with my clients, I have seen the proof that's not true. We deserve more than not just deserve, right? There are more than just threshold of okayness, okay? So for me, I want to bring people over this line of okayness into discovering the true immense love, beauty, and magic that exists, right? So, I call it's usually the tip of the iceberg that we identify our lives with, right? We think, oh, it's so overwhelming, right? You feel like you're just this small person against, the forces of the world, right? But that is actually just the tip of the iceberg. The thing is that we have not allowed ourselves to drop into the vastness below the iceberg, right? So, and that's why life seems so bleak, it's not fulfilling, right? But it's not because life is that way, because we have not dropped down into the vastness below it. So there is more to life greeting you as you open up and expand beyond what they tell you, right? Beyond the boundaries of what they say is the limits, the ceiling, all right? There is no ceiling. Okay. All right. So now let me bring in another energy to support you in absorbing that in a way that's going to make it very practical in your day-to-day life so that you can notice the changes. Okay. So, all right. This is a purple energy, gem-like, almost unusual. So what it does is that it opens up dormant spaces within your spaces that have yet to be recognized and activated. And so you're discovering, you can see parts of you that you have not met before in a good way. Okay, I'll let that continue to work in the background. Okay, so the other thing is that, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's like we're progressively reverting. We've lost a lot of what makes humanity beautiful. So collectively, our hearts are shut down. And I think because of the rise of AI, of technology, of social media, right? And I'm seeing how important it is for us to restore what's beautiful about humanity, the basic values of humanity, right? So coming from a heart space, businesses that are thriving, right? Because deep down we know there's a part of us in the background that know everything about what I'm talking about, right? It's just not active in the forefront. So we have to come back to the basic, human connection, sharing, positive community, mutual support, and enhancing each other, kind of also falls into the realm of, closing the gap, to dissolving the separations between humans, right? So we are, when we come in together as a tribe, right? We are ultimately the same species, and not see each other through the lens of our differences, but as souls. When we connect with each other as souls, something very powerful gets restored inside of us and for this world. Now, I talked about the new paradigm that we're already in, right? I call it the era of freedom, flow, and abundance. All right. To thrive in this, what's going to make it work is being heart-based, coming from our hearts. So being conscious and aware and kind of like relaxed. So this fast moving, the fast pace, the hecticness, the busyness is all part of this destructive spell that pulls us away from the beautiful parts of being human, so we are becoming more and more robotic, right? So this is a huge AI spell that kills what's human, the humane in humanity, and we want to restore the humane in humanity. So that's the key. If you look at any sectors, whether it's business, whether it's, NGO, we are kind of looking at a very, like there's a need, you can see that it's not working, so a lot of these old structures have collapsed and are continuing to collapse. And you may go, yeah, but I see things getting more intense, the unscrupulous politicians are getting worse than before, right? And again, as I mentioned before, right, it's because we have awoken. That's why we are seeing and witnessing what's already been happening long time ago, right? So the fact that you can experience it, you can perceive it, and you can see the intensity of it is actually a good thing. It's not because they are winning, it's because light is winning. That desperate grasping for air, when somebody is drowning and we're told not to try to save them because the lack of air is going to make them pull you down, right? A lot of people die that way trying to save somebody who's drowning, So something that is, just being deprived, right, of power, right, will do something, will amp up the intensity, and it may appear as if they are growing in strength, but actually they are dying in power, So with all the so-called increase in intensity, in violence, in whatever, right? Like, oh, how are these people so blatantly stealing or, doing all these bad things and evil things, right? It's because they are losing their power ultimately, right? So light always is always winning. Light is always victorious, will always be that way, right? So yeah, the old structure is collapsing, so these temporary, you see this growth of like this new, wave of technology. It looks like it's going to, be able to take over or duplicate soul consciousness, right? It's not, and you may say, okay, look at where it's progressing now, right? Isn't it they can copy and duplicate anything, right? Even the soul, there's arguments about that, right? And I'm asking, okay, even if that's the case, right, you got to ask what source is it, right? Where is it coming from? Where is that intelligence? And why would we want to allow that, embrace that into our civilization, And when you really tap into your soul, right? And I'm not talking about analyzing. When you really feel into your soul, you'll be able to sense the truth of course it makes sense that we need to revert back to our heart, to be heart-based, to come from love, right? Something so simple, yet it's been dismissed and disregarded and even mocked. When they say love is the most powerful medicine, it really is true, literally, right? Practically and literally, love is the most powerful medicine, right? And for me, at some point, I realized that human beings, we are made of love. We are made of love. So when we move too far into the opposite of that, which is the rigidity of machines, right? Something will be lost, a big part of us will be lost, right? Can love be duplicated, right? I guess that's a debate, a discourse that we can all get into, to kind of like a juicy piece of puzzle that we can chew on, and that's fun, right? But I'm saying, if you really tune into your soul, you sense that there's just no way around it. We've got to restore our capacity for love, for mutual respect, right? Like if you own a business, it has to have that kind of culture built into it. By that I mean the businesses that are just thriving on exploiting people, there's no love, there's no respect, it's all a transaction, right? Those companies aren't surviving, right? Yeah. So the good news about this is that your heart is where? Inside of you, right? So you have the key to close it or to open it, right? And when you open your heart, that energy of love, without you doing anything, will heal certain situations in your life. A lot of these situations are caused because we are moving further and further away from heart, right? I mean, just look at any close relationships that you have. You see that is the truth. When you are heart-based, then everything works out. Okay, so I know that's a lot of what's causing the hearts to be closed are unhealed emotions, and that's a big topic as well, right? But I want to bring in an energy to start opening up some of the calcification of your hearts. I mean, just the heart itself is like I can talk about it for days, right? But one of the things, the power of an open heart is that's where, beautiful, benevolent, divine beings, right, communicates to you, like that's where you receive angelic, divine guidance from the universe, right? And it can make a difference between feeling like you're trapped in this small world with everything against you and having this expansive perspective where you can see the big picture and everything is just part of this beautiful whole, right? And that lifts you from, it can be a difference, between being, feeling like you're stuck in hell and flourishing in paradise, Okay, so I want to do a healing on heart materials. So if you're receiving this, I want you to just relax as much as, like, the more you relax, the more shifts and transformations can happen for you. So the energies, invoking the highest source, the purest form of source intelligence, to move into your system, to locate and identify where there are blocks, heavy energies that are accumulated anywhere in your body, down to the cell levels, so clearing out your cells from any unhealed wounds that are making you stuck. And by stuck, I mean repeating in a loop. So if you have a pain of rejection, let's say, as a simple example, and you haven't healed from it, it's very easy to get triggered when somebody who's not even rejecting you say something, and immediately triggers that whole old wounds, and that wounds, and usually we would, like, the reactive way is that I'm going to talk it out or fight it out or whatever with this trigger, right? When, in order to, we should just go and heal that deep wound that is being triggered, okay? So that's the spot that I want to send this healing to. So give it a few moments in silence. We are directing conscious energies, high-level conscious energies, to that spot, the very spot that contains the biggest wound that is blocking you from being the highest version of who you are today. Okay, so it poses as the biggest emotional block right now for you. As you open that up and we're working with your higher selves, this source conscious energy is moving into that spot to relax and heal and restore back to divine perfection and wholeness, restoring you to divine perfection and wholeness. I want you to take in a deep breath all the way into your belly and breathing out, expanding, grounding, integrating that healing. Okay, now the final point that I want to make today in what could benefit humanity right now, where we are, right, collectively and individually, is soul mission. You've got to know why you are here ultimately, right? You know, like what are you here to contribute to the world is what I mean. And because it's important for your soul to be expressed through you, right? So I want to give a contrast of people who are just going through the day-to-day lives, or they have a job, 9 to 5 or whatever hours, right? And every day they have a routine like that, and it's just a job. Okay. By the way, it's never just a job. It shouldn't be that way, because guess what? The majority of our working hours are spent where? At our jobs, right? So it would be painful to acknowledge that your job is just a job, It has to give you some sense of you are contributing to something, right? Now, if you're stuck in a soul-sucking job, and I work with many, many people like that, because I was stuck in a soul-sucking job for a long time, soul-sucking career, right? And honestly, there's nothing worse than, that I remember, the Sundays, right? Waiting to, like just the thought of like this morning, you have to wake up and go to work, it's like, kill me already, And that's because it wasn't my soul mission, didn't align with my soul mission. I was doing something that was completely not within my passion, my gifts, my skills, right? And, and people think, okay, we don't have a choice, okay? We just got to take any old job just so we can pay our rent, pay our bills, right? And that is valid. I got to acknowledge that. I want you to know that I understand that, right? And yet, it's unsustainable, because when your soul is withering, when you feel like your soul is dying, right? Your body is going to break down. I have seen so many people when their bodies shut down, right? And they can develop, serious illnesses, stroke, heart attacks, right? All of those things, it comes from your soul being drained and dying slowly because you just hate this job that you have to show up just because you can't let go or give up the idea that this is the only, this is the source of security for me and I have no choice, right? You do have a choice, you always have a choice, right? And when you take a step towards what's aligned with your soul, something magical tends to happen, right? I actually haven't come across anyone who's, made a decision based on their heart. That, head of the heart kind of question or dilemma that we have, right? When you go with your heart, you never go wrong, right? But I've seen a lot of disasters when we make decisions based on our heads, what feels right, what I'm supposed to do versus what I really, really feel joyful doing, right? And a lot of this is also, we were programmed by, the old, maybe previous generations of, our parents, who ingrained in us that, you don't have the luxury, you just got to suck it up and do, what you don't love, right? Because, that's life, right? But it's not, okay? All of these are repercussions of collective programmings, right, designed to block us from accessing our true divine powers, which is infinite. Again, you are an infinitely divine being of light. So the soul mission is important. Everybody has a soul mission, and it doesn't mean it has to be something big, like planet-changing type of work. It doesn't even have to be about work. But it is something that, and I get it. It's sometimes not easy to connect with it. You may have to go through a period of soul searching because there are all these parts of you that maybe you have not nurtured over the years, and they are hiding somewhere deep inside of you. So it takes time to revisit, to reconnect with those beautiful parts of you, right? But it's so worthwhile because you will feel the difference so even if you are currently in a soul-sucking job, right? I don't mean that you have to quit this job. I don't mean that's the only option. When you bring in your soul mission into that same job, it can be night and day. It can be a totally different experience for you. So it starts with you connecting who are you? What are those parts that you have lost over time? You know those things when you become somebody just based on what other people, your family or people around you, told you that you should be, rather than who you really are, right? And we all do this, right? To one degree or another, we give up parts of us that are really authentic, and try to be somebody you're not, right? One of my favorite sayings is, you cannot be who you're not, and you also cannot not be who you really are. Because your soul will give you those signs. It will make it actually very uncomfortable for you, So what is your soul mission? You ask yourself that, and bring in that sense of, like I said, it's not just applicable in your job. When you find your soul mission, you do that. You do your soul mission. You deliver. You carry it out. You actualize it in all contexts in life, all areas of life. So even, going to the shop, buying something, right? Whatever your soul mission, let's say your soul mission is to bring joy, bring a smile to someone every day, right? The person at the counter or the guy behind you at the queue, right? You can deliver your soul mission in that very sort of common, mundane situation, right? And when you deliver that into your work, it's just it brings your whole life another layer of meaning. It brings in a sense of purposefulness, a sense of purpose and meaningfulness into your everyday existence. Like I said, we spend the majority of our waking hours at our job. So there's no way around it. You can't force yourself to continue in a job that is soul sucking, but it's unsustainable. Eventually something will break, right? Okay, so take a deep breath as we anchor that into your system beautifully. So I'm picking up this, some how and why questions. Again, that's the domain of the mind. Our mind is always asking those questions, but how? But why, right? And in the space, when you sort of arrest that, kind of like put a mute button on it, right? Like just click the mute on that, the background, that is the magic. That is the canvas out of which magic and miracles are created. So as this is silence the mind, right? Because the mind blocks what's really there, which is soulful, magical vibes. All things magical and beautiful. I am sensing there is. Okay, let me do this. I'm sensing some heaviness that's just popped up. Not sure who it belongs to, but it's surfacing to be cleared. So let me channel. Okay, source intelligence moving. Let me bring in this medicine. If you are sensitive or you're used to working with energies, you feel a lightness as we dissolve, neutralize, disable that dense pocket of energy. Oh, I'm told now that's just a collective block, if you will, to humanity. So it's good. It's popped up to be released out of the collective right now, so we can all see more clearly, and we can embark on our lives more powerfully. Okay, I invite you to take a deep breath into your belly, all the way into your belly. And breathing out, expanding, grounding, integrating that clearing. Does anybody have any requests for a healing? So by that I mean, if you have a situation you're struggling with and you would like some assistance, some support for that. So in the meantime, I'm going to tune into the collective and see what the group needs. Okay. Earth healing. Okay, that's what's needed. Earth healing. So I invite you to join me to perform healing for the earth. So we are moving into those parts of the earth that are stressed from wars, from conflicts, and also from pollution. And let's send an energy from our hearts, going back to being heart-based, and reminding ourselves that love is the most potent medicine. And directing this stream of beautiful, loving energies from your heart to the heart of Mother Earth. And sensing that energy being received and instantly being expanded throughout the whole planet. So anybody on the surface of the planet will receive a healing as well. Let's intend for this energy to reach the individuals who most need a healing right now. Anyone who is trapped in any situation, whether physically trapped or psychologically, to receive a relief from suffering instantaneously, where there doesn't seem to be any ways out, for those individuals to see the light that pulls them out. And let this love come back to you 10 times more to benefit you, to open your hearts even more, to enable you to know and sense the enormous power that you have inside of you, the power of your divine light that exists within you, in your core, the deepest core of your being. As you receive this love back into your being, let it also open the doors to who you can be beyond what you've been told. So this has been fun. I will be back to do another round of transmissions, healings, and taking any questions. Thank you so much for being part of this. I send you so much love, all you beautiful light holders.